What's going on? My name is Iceman. Welcome back to Digital Combat Simulator World. Now, uh, now, obviously that guy's starting up. As you can see, he's not my wingman. He's something else. And I forgot to change his name. God damn it! It's supposed to be Enfield 2-1, I think. Forgot to change his name there. So we're gonna be watching him. We're gonna be watching him start up and taxi and take off and stuff. What we're going to be doing is, well, first of all, the first tutorial I did on the F-16C, oh my gosh, it's gotten so much traffic so quickly. Like 7 hours after oh god, that looks awesome. Hey mate, 7 hours after I looked at, after I uploaded the video, it already got like however many views. It only got like six views or something like that. And then like now, 2 days later, it has 500 fucking views, 11 likes, and 2 comments. So it's like, holy shit, you guys are actually liking what I made. And it's like, not gonna lie, I don't get much traffic on my channel. So, like, and not only that, if I do something that you guys actually enjoy, it's like, it's rare for me to get feedback on any of my vids, so it's like, you guys are fucking loving this shit. And it's like, I was really surprised that I got as much traffic as I did. Let's watch this guy take off. I was surprised I got as much traffic as I did on the video. So technically what I'm doing in this video is like a 500 subscriber special in reality. Oh shit, they changed the sounds. They changed the sounds. Fuck, that sounds awesome. It kind of sounds a little bit shittier, honestly. I'm not really that impressed. It sounds good, but also doesn't sound good. You know what I mean? They kind of they kind of made the sounds a bit shittier, in my opinion. I liked it what it was before. It was a lot louder and more, like it had a lot more bass to it. He's obviously turning because he's going to do a flight around around like Vegas and stuff. So what he's going to do is he's going to come back and land. But anyways, this is like a 500 subscriber special is what I'm going to do here. And I figure what better way to thank you guys for all the traffic that I'm getting on that tutorial vid. What better way to thank you guys than to make another tutorial? You know? So this is actually going to be a full flight. So it's going to be quite long. It's going to be a full flight. It's going to be a combined full flight from cold start to shutdown. So I'm just gonna be flying around. I'm not gonna really like go like through a flight plan or anything. I'm not really gonna do that. But I'm not gonna do a flight plan or anything. But you know, I'm just gonna fly. Basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna teach you guys how to fly the F-16 from scratch. So like how to, well, I already taught how to cold start and shut down the F-16. So I'm not gonna go into detail there. How to cold start the F-16 from scratch and shit, because just go watch the other video and the other tutorial where I do a complete cold start and shut down the F-16. That's where we'll go into all the detail on how to cold start this baby. But what I'm doing is basically this tutorial is going to consist of a little bit with a cold start, and then but mostly just me cold starting it, and then it's going to consist, the main tutorial portion of it's going to be taxi, so how to taxi the F-16, how to take off the F-16, and how to land the F-16. Now, I'm actually going to land twice in this video, I've decided, because I wasn't sure, am I going to do an overhead brake, or am I just going to show you guys how to land the F-16? I'm going to do both. The first thing I'm going to do is do a regular landing, so I just show you, you can land however you want in the F-16. You can, well, you can land with whatever pattern you want in reality, at least it's single player. Multiplayer, you should do overhead brakes, unless it's case 3. You know, you got bad weather, whatever. But other than that, fuck. Sorry, sorry guys, I've been off my medication a little bit, and now I'm finally able to get back on it. So it's like it's kind of messing me up a little bit. So it's kind of like I might not make sense with what I'm saying. I might be a little bit boring. I don't know. I know my tics are pretty bad right now. The sniffles, my tics are pretty bad right now. So forgive me with that. Can't do anything about that. But and also I tend to forget things at this point. So like I tend to because I have like a minor to moderate case of memory loss, short-term memory loss. So you know it's kind of odd because I'm autistic. I have autism, and you know a lot of people with autism have like photograph memory or whatever. And I used to have a photographic memory when I was a minor, when I was a child. I used to have a photographic memory. It just I had Sheldon memory from Big Bang Theory. I had Sheldon memory, literally. I literally had his memory, and then just once I hit teenager, adolescent, once I hit that phase where everyone grows up, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I seem to have lost the memory. Like I seem to have lost the ability to keep memory like that, and it's really depressing. But anyways, that's not what I'm going to talk about here. So I'm going to do a taxi training on. So I'm going to teach you guys how to taxi the F-16, how to take off the F-16, and how to land the F-16. Go through radio communications and all that shit. Okay. Now I will say. Now, if you guys want me to do tutorials on the other jets, let me know in the comments. However, I will say that one, I do not have a lot of other aircraft. I just have, I have the P-51 Delta. I have the Flaming Cliffs aircraft. I have the P-51 Delta. I have the Flaming Cliffs aircraft. I have the UH-1H Huey. I have the F-14 Tomcat. I have the FA-18 Hornet, and the F-16 Viper. That's really all I have. I may have forgotten one or two, but that's pretty much all I have. And I don't have all the maps either. I have Persian Gulf, Normandy 1, not the upgraded, but Normandy 1. I have Persian Gulf, Normandy 1, Marianas, Caucasus, and Nevada, I believe. I believe that's all I have. So those are the modules I have at the moment. So I'd prefer to do tutorials on the high fidelity aircraft though, not the low fidelity, because I never fly the low fidelity. But I will say that my area of interest, or my knowledge base, is in the F-16. Okay, so if you guys want me to do other aircraft tutorials on the other aircraft, do note that it might take me a while because I have to actually fly those other aircraft, learn them a little bit more, and train myself in them a bit more, and get to master certain stuff in order for me to teach you guys, because I want to teach you guys correctly, so correctly and accurately, so my cup of tea, my knowledge base is in the F-16. So the jet that I have the most knowledge in is in the F-16. Okay, because it's really all I fly, to be honest. started out with Falcon 4.0 Allied Force, and then I went to Free Falcon 6, and then I went to Falcon BMS a little bit, uh, and then I got into DC, and then I did Flaming Cliffs 1, so Lock On Modern Air Combat, then I did Flaming Cliffs 2, and then I finally did DCS World, and that's what I'm doing now, as far as the military sims go. So the F-16 was the first military jet I ever actually learned, back in 2010 and shit. A long fucking time ago, over a decade ago. So all my knowledge is in the F-16. And I will say, back in that time, in 2010 or whatever, was the time when I had that photographic memory where I could learn and remember almost everything. Okay, so that unfortunately was ingrained in my fucking mind. So there's no way I'm forgetting all that shit. So that stuff was ingrained in my fucking mind. So I can that's why I'm so knowledgeable on the F-16 is because all that stuff that I learned in like fucking 4.0 Allied Force and stuff, that was a turning point in my life. So I was able to remember that and ingrain that in my mind, so it's there forever basically. Unless I get in an accident or something and lose all my memory. Um, but yeah, so that's what I have there. So that's my memory. So my memory is uh, uh, so it's just new things I have trouble remembering. Okay, that's why I have all those kneeboard pages, uh, that I made so that I can remind myself how to do these things. Um, so yeah, that's that. Now, when I do the cold start, I will say I did read up on the engine parameters, so I do know what parameters we need to look for, okay? So I did that, okay? So, yeah. Um, so, yeah. So, um, sorry, I have a lot to say. I have a lot to think about. Hey, the lights turned off. What time is it? 4:42, okay. Okay, nice. So, um, so we're gonna get started. So I'm gonna do all the checklists, okay? So I'm gonna do all the checklists in this flight. So I'm gonna do basically, and also I updated the checklist, so I have an updated checklist here. Um, Now to get to the checklist, so to get these checklists, someone will ask me in my Mariana Islands video, where do you get these checklists? So to get these checklists, you need to go to uh, what's it called? Digitalcombatsimulator.com. Go in the user files and just search F-16C quick checklist. I'll have a link in the description to these specific checklists. Okay. Um, so yeah, that's that. Uh, hey, there's that F-16. He's gonna come back and land. He's going really fast. I don't know why he's going so fast. I didn't tell him to go that fast, but okay. We're gonna watch him land. Yeah, he's slowing up. So he did his whole flight. Alright, so yeah, so we're gonna be doing the full we're gonna be doing the full checklist here. All the checklists we're gonna be doing everything except oh, they got this too. Nice. So he added some stuff. Beautiful. So yeah, we're in the F-16C. We're not going to use any weapons. We're not going to use the weapons today. They're just eye candy. I will say again, we are heavy, so we have a lot of armaments on and stuff. So basically, if you copy my armaments and stuff, and you do exactly what I'm doing, and you copy my armaments and stuff, I got 2 AIM-120 Bravos, 2 AIM-9 Lemurs, 6 Mark 82 500-pound no drag bombs, and then 2 370-gallon fuel tanks, and then 1 AOQ 184 short ECM pod. So if you do all that, so if you basically can follow along with this video and do everything I'm doing in this video with the armaments I have, and I have also 4 fuel and 4 gun ammo and 60 chaff, 60 flare. Okay, so if you have all that, and you can do this video, or you can follow along in this video and do this everything that I'm doing here, you're pretty much golden as far as like, you know, overhead brake and shit like that. Because when you're heavy, normally you would you would jettison your stores and stuff if you don't use them. But I'm not going to do that, just because I want to show you that if for whatever reason you wanted to land, with the stores on the aircraft, you know, I'll show you how to do it. It's a little bit more difficult, but it's actually quite a bit more difficult because you're heavy and stuff. But uh, you're heavy and stuff. But you know, what are you gonna do? You know. So if you can do that, then you're pretty much golden, and you pretty much can fly the F-16, land it in well, not any weather yet, but you know, in anything, any condition, any stores condition, Cat 3 or Cat 1 or whatever. He's landing. I'm gonna watch him land. So yeah, if you want me to do videos on like tours on some of the other aircraft, let me know. I will say, you know, I'm not an expert in anything, so if you want me to do tours on the F-18 and F-14 and stuff like that, do know I'm pretty much crap at those aircraft. But but I know how to fly them. You know, I know how to fly them. It's just I'm not great with them. You know, I know how to fly them and fight a little bit in them, but yeah, I don't know how to actually, you know, I'm not familiar with the systems too much or anything like that in those aircraft. So again, my aircraft is the F-16, so I'm much more comfortable doing tours on the F-16. Okay, so but I can do the other aircraft if you really want me to. Okay, just let me know in the comments. So, anyways, let's get started. I'm gonna do my pre-flight check here, and I'm not gonna go over this. I'm just gonna do it because if you want me to go over this and I'll do this, just watch the complete cold start and shutdown tutorial that I did on the channel. It's getting so much fucking traffic right now, and I'm getting views like literally like right now, as I'm speaking, I'm probably getting views. So, anyways, I'm gonna do my pre-flight check. Propede off. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. Good. Master standby. I will turn this to normal. Formation light, I'll turn this off. Oops. Off. Okay. Steady. I will do dim. I made a mistake, or I didn't make a mistake, I forgot to say that you're supposed to turn this to standby. You're supposed to turn this to standby once the engine's on and stuff like that, and energize this, but I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to use the ECM. But I will turn these on just in case. Okay. Oh, fuck. So EPU switch normal, EPU air and hydrogen light off, red light off, good, must main power off. Okay, that's good. Takeoff, will turn that off. RLS will turn that off. Terrain following we don't use in the F-16. In the F-16 Block 50, sorry. But threat, I believe that's for the missile warning system. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's this. I don't know. I forget. One of these is for the missile warning system, and I think, and the other's for like, or maybe one of them's for the sidewinder turn. I don't. God, I have to. I don't remember. I believe the threat is for like, you know, this stuff here, the RWR and stuff. Well, actually, yeah, maybe it's for that. And then the missile is for the missile warning system, or the sidewinder turn up. One of the two, I don't remember. Secure voice not used. This up, this up, this up. That's off. Good. Canopy lock bars up. The switch is there. Good. Off. Good. Light off. Gear down. Lock. Gear down. Cat 3. Brakes channel 1, channel 2. That's good. Good. Going to enable off. Hook up. Some of this I didn't go into in the cold start checklist, but radio call. What's that? Never seen that before. I don't know what that is. ADV mode not used. Off. Off. Normal. Good. Normal. Middle. Normal. Off. Okay, do that. Do that. Alright, I'm going to turn the consoles off. I don't need them. Display panel off. This all the way up. And I will do off. Off. Normal. Good. Technically, when you do the pre-flight check, this should be off, but you know you're supposed to switch it to normal. Okay. INS. Okay, so that's off, 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 auto. Good, and those are on normal. Good. All right, guys. So that's that. Now we can close the canopy. So well, I'm gonna do it a little bit out of order. I'm gonna do it the way I usually do it. So canopy close. Okay, go, lock. Alright, so main power to battery. So let's look at this. Power to battery, test it off. Main power. Okay. Battery, main gen, standby gen, emphasis really like good. This power test, branches, this PMG, 2 FCS, good, let go. Everything goes back to the way it was, good, main power. See, I'm a lot faster at this when I'm not instructing on how to do it, but EPU gen lights off, red light off and stuff, that's good. Can be closed and locked, parking brake set. TV switch start to, engine 20%, and sec light off is what that means, and sec light off. Throttle idle, monitor engine parameters, and hydraulic oil pressure off. Okay. So engine, hydraulic oil pressure on, good. Electrical system and signal, good. So it's contact tower. So CNI, backup. Main, 270, good. It's contact. It's contact ground control.
In field 1-1, request startup. Enfield 1-1, cleared for startup.
Roger. Thank you. Clear for startup. Alright, turn this back off. Turn this to here. Now I'm going to do start 2 this time. So, what we're going to do is, so yeah, I'm just going to do it. So JFS start 2 now. Left click. Run. Okay. %. Circle it off. Alright, idle. Check that fan turbulent temperature. Shit's good. %. JFS run light goes off and JFS switch turns back to off. Good. Lights go off, seen alarmed, good. So that's that much caution. I'm gonna turn this up just a little bit. So when you start the engine, you want normal indications of, you want oil pressure 15 psi minimum. Okay, so it's near 20, so that's good. 15 psi minimum. Okay, now you want nozzle position greater than 94%. It's at 100, so that's good. You want RPMs 62 to 80%. Okay, so it's 60. It's like, see, wait, 1, 2, 3. Wait, yeah, it's like 64 or something like that. So that's pretty much good. So that's good. Fan turbine temperature 650 degrees Celsius or less. So that's way down here, so that's good. And then finally you want your hydraulic pressures Alpha and Bravo between 2850 and 3250 psi. Okay? So this is 20, 25, this is 28, so this is perfect. That's what we want. Okay. So that's what you want there. Okay. So JFS switch check off. Oxygen normal on. So normal on. Good. Preheat switch, preheat test off. Okay, let's do the test panel. Preheat on. Light off, good. Test. Flashing, good, let go. Fire over detect, push button. Master caution, engine fire, overheat, good, let go. Let's go off. Oh bogs, let's hope this works again. It does, fuck yeah. And technically when you do the oxy low, when you do the switch, it's supposed to do oxy low here, and the way it tests it, the way it checks it, is the needle is supposed to go to 0%. That's how it tests it. So it basically, it electronically causes the needle, this needle here, oxygen PSI needle, to go to 0% and past the green arc there. So that little green arc there, it goes past that to 0%, and that's what should cause the oxy low to come on. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay, and then malfunction indicator lights. Good.
Altitude. Warning.
Good.
Jammer.
Good.
Counter. Sat flare.
Now I'm not sure
Low.
if these are supposed to come on. I'm not sure about that. I would say that it should, but I'm not sure.
Soda.
And I know this is supposed to come on.
IFF.
Okay, that's good. Mids OB, so avionics switches, all 6 on, mids OBT on. Roger. So MMC, SCSDA, MFD, UFC, GPS, stage link, and mids OBT. Make sure GPS is on first before you do the INS, otherwise you're screwed up. So, so normal. HUD. Yeah, it's too bright. I'll do that. It's a beautiful HUD, oh my god. So, yeah, it's aligning now. Journalist aligned. C9 up UFC. Good. Landing it down 3 green. Yeah, didn't fix that typo, but down 3 green. Okay. Light off. That's good. That's stowed. 3 green. Good. Now, speed brake cycle and check, right? Speed brakes check. So, speed brake open. That board's good. That board's good. Retract. That board went down. That board went down. And indicator closed. Good. ADI is in cage. So uncage. Right there. Good. Left hardpoint switch as required, right hardpoint switch as required. FCR switch FCR and radar out switch, radar out. Now we don't have a lightning T-board, so we're going to keep this off. I'm going to keep FCR off because I'm not going to use it. Radar alt though, I can do radar alt. Radar alt. Engine secondary, engine control, check second pry. Oh god, I hate doing this. So that, secondary. That's caution on, secondary engine control on, nose position 0%. Okay, good. So brakes, a little bit of throttle. Alright, that's good. Good check. Back, light went off, parking brake. Nose position 100%, second light off, good. FOCS cycling and check, okay. So FOCS cycle and check. Okay. So oh, they changed it. So for the oh, they didn't. Never mind. So it's probably the stick there. Yeah, the stick was a little weird. Okay, so let's do that. So sorry about that. Okay. And then good. Okay, that's good. Sorry, I have a drink. So I need to put this up here so it doesn't screw up everything up. Alright, so bid test on. So fuel quantity test normal. Forward fuel low, after fuel low, 6,000 plus or minus 100, 2,000 plus or minus 100. Master caution, and there's no fuel flow, there's no fuel thing flashing here, but it should. But it's not implemented DCS yet for that, so we're good. Digital backup switch, backup or off. Wait for it to finish. Let's take a look at it. Alright, finish. Digital backup, DBU on. So DB on, warning. Alright, let's check. Check. Trucker is weird today, guys. Sorry. And technically you would check the out flaps extend and normal, but I'm not going to do that. And then trim AP disc disconnect. I'm not gonna do the trim because I did it in the cold start tutorial, but I'm not gonna do it this time because I don't use trim in the F-16. MPO test, manipulator override test. So override, forward, let go, good. Alright, that's that. And then EPU test. Okay, so I'm not going to do 100% oxygen this time because, well, it's not implemented such that you'll have like issues if you don't do 100% oxygen. So I'm not going to do 100% oxygen this time. I'm going to do this here, throttle up a little bit. On, headlight on. That's on, good. Bunch is on, good. Let go. Headlight off, throttle idle. Back on. Alright, EPU gen test switch off, IFF on and set. So I'm going to show you what you're supposed to do. So you're supposed to leave this on standby, okay? So just leave it on standby. Just have to remember to turn it on. Exterior lights as required, okay, that's good. EWRWR jammer on. I'm not going to do that. Technically, so when I said you're supposed to put this on standby, it's like at this point now, you would put it on standby. And I'll just, you know what, fuck it, I'll just show you. It's a tutorial anyway. So I'll put this to 1. You don't have to do that, you can put it on whatever you want, but whatever mode you want. But I'm going to put this to standby and let it complete the test. So when the test completes, the lights should go off. Okay, the standby lights should go off if the test completes properly. So it usually takes about 2 minutes. At least this is a Falcon BMS thing. I don't know if it works in DCS, but it's a Falcon BMS thing there, and Falcon 4.0 Light Force thing. So you got that. Config Cat 1, Cat 3, we're good. Laser code set. So actually, you know what? I'm gonna do all this. Screw it. I'm gonna do all this because I want it to be complete. It's not complete if I don't, you know, do everything, you know. Right. So, so test this. That's good. Laser code set, bingo set, Takeoff ILS on and set, altimeter set, EGR INS nav, NWS on. So NWS on, you would technically do that as the last step, but I'm just turning it on now. So align and ready. So at this point is when you switch it to nav, okay? So it's when you switch the INS to nav. But let's do the altimeter real quick. Good test. Alright, so now you switch this to nav. Okay? And that's a complete INS, and it's done. Now switch this to return. So when it said laser code and bingo, so Takeoff ILS on and set, so you would turn the Takeoff on here, and the ILS on here, and you would go into your TILS, Takeoff ILS, and set the stuff up there, okay? So, but I'm not going to do that. I'll do that in like attack on an ILS video if I do that, okay? Now, to change the bingo, like it said in the checklist, go list, ALO. List 2, as you see, says 2 here is bingo, BNGO, bingo. So do that, and I'm going to set it to £5,000, okay? That's what I'm going to set mine to, okay? £5,000, hit enter, and then return, okay? And then to set the laser code, you go list, and then laser should be somewhere. If it's not in this, do miscellaneous 0, and it should be here 5 laser. Okay, and then you can change your target barcode laser laser spot track code here. Okay, so that's how you would change those. Whoa, it started getting bad FPS for a sec there. That was a little weird. So that's how you would do that, okay? Now, before we go, there's 2 more things you need to do. You need to test the brakes, channel 1, channel 2. So you would basically brakes, test, channel 1, okay, they work. Channel 2, test, okay, they work. And then, you know, you go back to channel 1. But I'll show you how to test the channels. Basically all you do is you just test the brakes in channel 1 and then test the brakes in channel 2. But I'll do that when we do the taxi, okay? Which will be in a sec. But what we have to do first is we need to align the helmet mounted queuing system. So if you have it enabled, you need to align the helmet mounted queuing system, and if you have AGM-65 Mavericks on the jet, you need to bore sight those to the laser to the targeting point, okay? So, you need to bore sight those to the targeting pod. So, the helmet mounted queuing system needs to be aligned for it to work. Now, a couple of videos ago, I made the mistake and I said, well, the HMCS is already aligned. It doesn't need to be aligned anymore. What the fuck's going on? Well, I failed to do DCS sequence, so that was my bad. So technically it did need to be aligned. So I'm going to show you how to align that here, okay? So I'm going to show you the controls that you need, okay? So to align the HMCS, you need to go to controls here, and you need to bind enable switch. So this here, minus left shift echo, enable shift D press, and then the RDR cursor switches. So RDR cursor switch down, left, right, up, okay? So that's what I got there, okay? So that is what you need to bind, okay? So those are the only things you need to bind. Let me switch this back. So to align the HMCS, what you need to do is you need to turn on the HMCS to increase. And as you can see, well, it works, but it's not aligned. So what you need to do is you need to go to list, then miscellaneous 0, and then R for recall where it says HMCS, okay? Then you're going to get to this page. Now you need to do DOLBA, so you need to do DCS. DCS stands for data control switch. So you need to do, this is the DCS here. So you need to do data control switch right to sequence, and then you have HMCS align. Out of interest, is there anything else? No, okay, so it's HMCS align. Now, by the way, if you align your HMCS and then it becomes de-aligned, I don't think that's ever happened, but if it becomes de-aligned for whatever reason, you can always go back here to this page and sequence and get to align and realign it, okay? So what you need to do to align this is something you have to memorize, okay? Unfortunately, there's no real easy way to understand this or remember it, so you just kind of have to try to memorize it to the best ability, okay? So once you get to this page, what you need to do is you have course enabled, right? What you need to do to start the test is do mselect, okay? 0, okay? mselect, click that. Now what you need to do is this is enabled here, right? So it means it's testing it. So it says ready here. So you have this small cross here, right? You have a big cross here on the hood. What you need to do is match to the best of your ability the small cross with the big cross, just like that. And then hit the enable switch D press that I showed you to bind earlier. So left shift echo once it's aligned. So I'm holding it. Line OK. Let go. Now to save it, to save the test, you do mselect again. Okay, so mselect. Now you do azimuth and elevation. So you press mselect again to start the test for azimuth and elevation. Okay. So now it doesn't matter where you have your head, because what you need to do now is you need to put, I believe, the top cross on the you need to make the top cross on the in the middle there, so you need to align it. Let me just see here. So you need to do the RDR cursor switch keys like I showed you earlier. So you need to do that. Okay, so you need to align this. It's a little tricky. Align it to your best ability. Up once. There you go. So you do that. So you do that top cross with that, and then you do M select again, and then you do roll. So to do roll, you do M select once more, and now you take the bottom cross, and you do radar cursor keys left and right, and marry the bottom cross right there. Okay. In line with the one on the hood, okay? So you need to align it there. And once that's there like that, you can do M select one more time, I believe, and then that's finished. I believe you do M select again. I don't fully remember. Don't quote me completely on this, guys, because I've never had to really align the HMCS before. This is the first time me doing it technically, but it looks to be pretty good to me, to be honest. So yeah, that's that. So So the HMCS works fine, and then return, and you're good. So now I'm going to turn this back off. I tell you, if I did the HMCS alignment improperly, I'm going to be pissed. But if I did it right, then I'm going to be happy, I guess. But anyways, now we are ready to taxi. So before we do that, we need to request clearance. So request taxi to runway.
In field 1-1. Request taxi to runway.
Let's see if I have mentioned something else. Nope.
Enfield 1-1. Clear to taxi to runway 3. Path 2.
So he says clear to taxi to runway 3 right, okay? So the way to tell which runway that is, unfortunately they don't tell you, they don't give you taxiway instructions like, you know, left on alpha and then cross runway, whatever. They don't do that shit. But as you can see, there's a little, to tell where you are, you have that there where it says A, that means alpha. So it means this taxiway this way is alpha. And you see 03L. That means 03 left. So runway 3 left. If it's red with white lettering, that means it's a runway, okay? So that means that the runway you're about to cross, so this one here is runway 3 left. Runways are always next to each other, okay? So you have, if you have like left and right, they're always next to each other. So you have up to 3 types of runways. You have like runway left, runway L. So you have like 03L, 03C, and 03R. So 03L means 03 left, and 03C, let's say, means center. The C means center. So if you have 3 runways next to each other, the leftmost one is the left runway, the center one is the literally center one, the one in the middle is the center one, and the one all the way to the right and they're always parallel to each other. And the one all the way to the right is runway whatever right, okay? So so let me go out of this for a sec so I can show you. So you can see here that this is 3 left, okay? This runway is to the left of this runway, okay? So this is 3 left, this is 3 right. So when we taxi, we need to go here, cross this runway, go straight, and then hold short here, and then turn onto this runway. This is the runway we're going to take off. Take off from. Now, for landing in DCS World, they don't tell you, they don't specify what runway you need to land on. Like, they don't say land runway 3 left or 3 right. They just say land on runway 3. So, in reality, it's up to you which runway you want to land on. I try to land on the one that I'm going to park, that's nearest to the one I'm going to park at. Okay? So, yeah. Okay, so with this on standby and everything, we are ready to taxi. So again, do not switch this to safe, and do not switch the propede on until we are holding short of the runway, okay? So to taxi, so basically taxiing is where you go slowly, okay? I'm just gonna explain this as if you don't know, you've never flown a DCS World before, you don't know anything about flying, and you don't know how this stuff works, okay? So what you need to do is turn on the NWS, the nose wheel steering. It's already on, as you can see with this here. But if it's not on, you'll see it like this, okay? And oops, I forgot to test the air refuel door, so let me test that real quick. Ready, good, okay. Don't hit canopy jettison, because that will jettison the canopy. Then you won't have a canopy. Not worth it, trust me. Especially when you're not trying to jettison the canopy. So, to turn on nose wheel steering, you want, what is it? NWS. NWS AR disconnect missile step button. You want this here. So bind that to a key, and that, and possibly a joystick, and bind that so you have that control, okay? Now, I just remembered, let me put the controls up. I never put the controls up, the control indicator or whatever. I never ever do that, but I'm going to do that for this case so that you guys can see what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm going to unbind that now. Okay. Off. Okay. Alright, so you see this control indicator here. So you see this little red diamond here. What that means is that's where my stick is at. You see, if I move my stick forward and in a circle to counterclockwise, you see it moves, okay? That diamond moves. That diamond is showing you where my stick is at, okay? My joystick. I have an X52, SATEC X52 flight control system, okay? Standard edition, not the Pro, but the standard, okay? The blue one or whatever. Now, the throttle is this here, okay? If I move the throttle just a little bit, you'll see it moves, okay? I don't want to do it too far, because, you know, I don't want to do it too far. And I believe this is the afterburner detent right here. I believe. I'm not entirely sure. So that's the stick. That's the throttle. This is the stick. And the rudder is this here, what you see moving here. And trim is something else, some other indicator on here. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I don't use trim in the F-16, okay? And the brakes are that there, okay? Try to bind the brakes to an axis so you don't always do max brake like that, okay? So, taxiing. I'm not going to taxi straight to the runway because I want to show you ways to taxi and ways not to taxi, okay? Again, this is going to be long. This is going to be a full fucking tutorial for you guys, like full course or whatever. So I'm going to do that, you know? So before we actually go, we need to turn on the taxi light, okay? So what we have here, if you look at the outside of the jet, you have you have the taxi light, which is this here. I know it's loud, I'm sorry. You have the taxi light, which is this here, and you have the landing light here, okay? So if I go in the cockpit and I turn the taxi light on with a left click, you see you can't really see it because it's daytime, but there's a light here, okay? And you see the taxi light is on, okay? The taxi light is a very wide light, as you can see, okay? It's a wide light, so it illuminates the ground like your car's, like in a car, the headlights, the regular headlights, okay? So think of the taxi light like the headlights on a car, just the regular headlights, not the brights, not the beams, the high beams, just the regular light, okay? The regular headlight, okay? That's what the taxi light does. It illuminates the ground, okay? It's angled down so it illuminates the ground for you, okay? Now if you turn it to the landing light, you have a more focused beam, as you see here. And you can see that the landing light is this here, the top one. So the landing light is more focused, as you can see. It's more focused and it's farther distance. It is not angled down. I mean, it's angled down a little bit, but it's pretty much angled straight ahead. Okay, so the landing light is a very, very, very bright light, okay? So the landing light is like your high beams. That's like your high beams in your car, your brights, if you will. That's what the landing light is. So for taxi, daytime or weather, daytime or not, doesn't matter. You turn your taxi light on when you're taxiing. However, when you go into park, it's courtesy to crew chief, especially at night. Courtesy to the crew chief to turn off the taxi light when you're taxiing to parking. The crew chief is trying to guide you into the parking space, okay? Because those lights are extremely fucking bright, so you don't really want to blind your crew chief, okay? So what was I doing? Okay, so taxi light. So normally I fly without the taxi light damn it. Normally I fly without the taxi light, or taxi without taxi light and stuff. I'm not supposed to, okay? You're supposed, if you're taxiing, turn that taxi light on, and do it at night too. Turn that taxi light on, okay? So taxiing is where you go slowly, okay? So what I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do is turn the taxi light on, okay? Now, your parking brake switch, this is important. You want your parking brake switch to anti-skid, okay? Don't turn it off, turn it to anti-skid, okay? Oh, so that's the parking brake. That's cool. Okay, I didn't know that was on the controls indicator, but okay. So the parking brake is that there, okay? Now, what you want to do is turn it to anti-skid on the ground. Don't switch it off, pretty much ever. Don't switch it off, just switch it to anti-skid. What anti-skid does is it makes it so that the flight control system, the brake system works such that if you slam on the brakes like that, like I just did there, if you slam on the brakes, it won't lock up the tires. And the thing is, if it locks up the tires, you can screech. Not only can you screech the tires and go out of control, but you can actually blow the tires, you know, from all the friction. Because those tires, I mean, they're heavy, they're high PSI tires, so they can burst pretty easily, especially if you go too fast down the runway and you don't take off, and you're just rolling down the runway, okay? So you want it to anti-skid. If you turn it off, it'll turn off the anti-skid system, so you can essentially lock up your tires and shit. But don't do that. Don't do that ever, guys. You know, you might get a little bit more braking power with it off, but you know, just keep it on anti-skid. Even if you're going to overrun the runway and you're going to go past the runway and go into the grass, keep it on anti-skid, guys. Just keep it on anti-skid, because you'll you know, if you go in the grass anyways, you're going to damage something, most likely. So, you know, if you turn it off, if you turn it off, you'll blow your tires, so don't do that. Okay? So with the taxi light on, what you want to do is go to anti-skid like I did there, right? So now to taxi, so what you have here is your speed, right? You have your speed here. You see this little C here? This C here, it means calibrated airspeed, okay? But on the ground, you can't, the way that the airspeed works, what airspeed works is this little, there's like a little, I don't know where it is on the F-16, but there's like a pitot probe and stuff, there's a pitot probe and stuff like that. So what that does is ram air goes into that pitot probe and it tells you how fast the air is going into that tube, okay? And that's how you get the airspeed. But the thing is, if there's no wind, or you're going really slowly, the airspeed is not going to really show how fast you're going over the ground. So what we have on the HUD indicator here, or a HUD panel here, is you see this switch. It's your airspeed switch. It's CAS, TAS, and ground and GND speed. So CAS stands for calibrated airspeed. Okay, that's what we have currently. Okay, TAS is true airspeed. Okay, if you switch it to TAS, well, you should see a T here. Okay, you should see a T here, not a C. Okay, that's not working properly. It should be a T here. Okay, for TAS. And now ground speed. D&D speed is ground speed. That's what you want. Now it should show a G here, a golf. It should show G for ground speed. I don't think it's... Apparently it's not working properly. It should work. And this should show G right here, okay? So it should correspond to what your thing is actually set to, okay? Hold on, I got a notification. Let me get rid of that real quick. It popped up and now it's being annoying. Okay. So it should show G there, so that's misleading. So that's incorrect. It should not show C there. It should show G. So what's supposed to happen is when we taxi, you're supposed to see the speed over the ground. So taxi speed in F-16 is about max. Okay, so max, you can taxi at any speed you want, really, within reason. Maximum taxi speed in the F-16 is about 30 knots. Okay, 30 knots. Ground speed, but for turns, especially harsh turns, so for turns, any turns, slow down to about 10 knots for turns, and for harsh turns, like 90-degree angles and shit, go down to 5 or less, okay, for the harsh turns and stuff, okay. So like for example, if you're technically supposed to follow these lines here, so if we were going like 10 knots and we tried to follow this line, we would be lopsided. I'll show you what not to do. Okay. So with the parking brake and anti-skid and the taxi light on, we can now taxi. Okay. So I'm just gonna turn to the right here, go in this little parking area here, and I'm going to show you how to taxi. Okay. So what you need to do is give it a little bit of power. Don't slam the throttle forward. I'm gonna hold the brakes. Don't do this. Don't do that I mean, you can do that if you want, but just be very careful. Just, in reality, just do a little bit of throttle, just like that. Just enough, very slowly until you start moving, okay? I'm holding the brakes right now, so I'm not moving. But, just a little bit until you start moving, okay? Now, I'm going to move forward a little bit. So what you do is you give a little bit of power so you start moving. And once you start moving and you start gaining a little bit of speed, throttle back to idle and just coast, okay? So like this. So a little bit of throttle. Now idle, okay? Now just coast a little bit. Now, let me turn to the right. Let me turn to the right here. I'm going to taxi here just a little bit just so I can just point in this direction here, okay? Okay, so let me brake here. Now, real quick, let me show you what nose with steering does, okay? Forgot to show that. So nose with steering is this. You see the nose gear turns. You use the rudder to turn, okay, on the ground. Okay, you see that? If I turn nose with steering off, watch what happens to the nose gear. See the nose gear here goes back, okay? So on takeoff, you want this straight, okay? But if you turn the nose with steering on, it goes to where your it moves to where your rudder is, okay? So when you start moving, you test the brakes, okay? Brakes channel 1, channel 2, okay? So brakes channel 1 works, so just give it a little bit of power, go to idle, test the brakes, just tap it, like that. Brakes work, okay. Now go channel 2, test the brakes. Give it a little bit more power, test the brakes. Brakes channel 2 works, okay. That channel 2 is an emergency system, so switch it back to channel 1, okay? I'm still going. Oh shit. Okay, so that's that, okay? So what you want to do is give it a little bit of power and then throw it to idle, okay? Don't do this. Don't do this. And start taxiing like this. And then braking, doing a whole bunch of turns and shit, and then doing this. Oh, I want to go fast. Let's do it. Let's go 4 mil. And then, yeah, don't do that, guys. Don't do that. I know it's tempting. You want to get there. You want to get to the runway quick. But guys, if you want it to be as real as it gets, don't do that. Okay? If you want to fuck around and piss around and just, you know, well, I don't want to be. Damn it, this is kind of rude. But if you want to act like a child, really, and just piss around and just, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with pissing around every once in a while and just, like, you know, fucking around and just doing weird shit. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But if you want a multiplayer server where it's as real as it gets, and you do that shit, you're gonna get banned. Okay? So I don't want you guys to get banned. Okay? So I want you guys to have fun. So I'm teaching you as real as it gets. So that way, you know, you know the rules. So if you know the rules and you know how to follow the rules and be with the rules, then and only then, in my opinion, can you break the rules. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope it does. You know, you want to follow the rules, do everything properly first, and then if you've mastered how to do everything properly, then you can break the rules. Okay? Then you could break the rules, because you know, it's a simulator. This is not really a video game, okay? Like, it's technically a video game, but it's not, you know? It's for training, okay? So, you know, if you want to fuck around and shit and do weird shit, go play Ace Combat 7 or whatever the new one is. I'm not interested in that. I will never ever play Ace Combat games, because they are, even though I've played them in the past, I'm not going to do any. I might do videos on them, I don't know, but you know, the thing with Ace Combat is it's so easy to fly, it's hard for me. I can't do it well because I want to flip all these switches and shit, you know? I'm getting off topic here. Let me switch, let me bring this up a little bit. Bring this up. And then, yeah, okay. So, what I'm going to do is, so you just want to taxi, just a little bit of power, and then idle, okay? You can taxi as fast or slow as you want within the parameters that I told you before. So 30 knots maximum straight ahead, 10 knots for turns, and 5 knots for harsh turns. And by the way, the ground speed is not working, okay? This ground speed thing here is not working, so I'm just going to switch it back to CAS. But it should be working. I don't know why it's not working, guys. It should work. That's a bug. That's something I actually need to do a bug report on, because the ground speed does not work in the F-16 apparently. So yeah, that's bad. Here I am taxiing normally. Just because I'm so used to taxiing normally. So let me show you how fast you can, the fastest speed you should taxi, okay? And also, do not ride the brakes, okay? Do not ride the brakes in the F-16, okay? Meaning, don't hold the brakes and do this, okay? Where you're going for, so don't do this and ride the brakes as you're going forward and shit, because you overheat the brakes. Don't do that, okay? Okay? So don't do that. And also you should try tapping the brakes. Don't hold the brakes as much as you can. I usually hold it on landing. Really, you should have it to an axis and do maybe half brake when you're landing, and only go to max if you absolutely need to. But I don't have it bound so to an axis on my joystick or whatever, so I have to do hold the brakes. So yeah, but anti-skid is there for you in that case. Okay, so this is the fastest I would say you can taxi. So if I go here, this is the fastest you should taxi. Actually no, this is way too fast. Let's see, I don't have a ground speed so I can't tell, but this is the, like, yeah, this, slow down a little bit. This is the absolute fastest you should taxi. This here, right here, okay? This is the absolute fastest you should taxi forward. Absolute fastest you should taxi forward, okay? So, now for turns, you want to slow down. Small turns, you want to slow down to about here, okay? You want to slow down to about here for turns, like this, okay? So small, slight turns like this, okay? Slight turns. Just give me a little bit of power so I can stay at the speed. Slight turns, you stay here, right? Just gradual turns, you can see with my rudder on the controls indicator. Now for harsh turns, slow down to about here, okay, for harsh turns, okay? Slow down to about here. Look on the other side so you can tell. Slow down to about here for harsh turns. So if you want to do a harsh turn, you can do it like that, okay? But that's the absolute max, okay? So if you want to do a harsh turn, go about this speed, maximum, remember maximum, and then go all the way, okay? Absolute maximum, okay? But normally, if I do a harsh turn, I slow down to about here and do a harsh turn, okay? I slow down to about here and do a harsh turn, okay? So, yeah, so let me show you what happens if you taxi too fast and you do a harsh turn, okay? I'll show you what happens. I'm invulnerable, so I will not die, okay? I will not die, but I want to show you what happens if you taxi too fast and try to do a harsh turn, okay? If you taxi at about this speed, and you try to do a harsh turn, watch what happens. Oh, it's not actually doing it. There we go. If you try to taxi too fast, or maybe it's the, I don't know what's doing it, but there you go. If you give it too much and you go too fast, this will happen, okay? You'll scrape your wing, and you don't want that. Now, it did not do any damage because I'm invulnerable, okay? But that can happen, okay? So don't go too fast. Let me do it to the other side, okay? Let me do it to the other side. So if you turn to the right and you go too fast, this will happen. And you give power, whatever, this will happen. Oh shit, it actually has wing flexes there. That is cool. That is cool. I didn't know that. But that's actually pretty cool. Okay, so we're invulnerable, so it didn't actually do anything. It actually did a scraping noise too. That's fucking awesome. I didn't even know that. Oh shit. I didn't know DCS implemented that far. Fuck. This simulator is orgasmic, guys. It's honestly fucking orgasmic. It's amazing. I love this sim. Fucking love it. So to actually taxi, you just go slowly. I usually taxi about this speed, okay? This is how fast I taxi. So that's how you taxi, okay guys? That's how you taxi in the F-16. And that's how to not to taxi. So I'm going to go here on Alpha. Actually, I'm on Foxtrot, okay? Let me check my fuel. It feels good. Okay. So I'm on Foxtrot. You see here, hit the brakes. You see here, it's Foxtrot, okay? This is the FA means Foxtrot, okay? So we are on Foxtrot. If it's black with yellow lettering, that's the taxiway you're currently on, okay? and it's always visible to the pilot and able to see. So it's not Alpha because it's hard to see. You're on Foxtrot, okay? That's what you got there, okay? And then this means that Alpha is to the left, okay? Left is Alpha, okay? So this is Alpha, as you can see. If you're coming from this direction, Alpha is your current taxiway, but as you can see, we are on Foxtrot, and now we're going to turn left on Alpha, okay? So that's how you read the signs. So if ATC is ever updated in DCS where it says, like, updated in DCS where it says, you know, hold short or go on Alpha or whatever, you know, that's how you read the signs and navigate. Okay, so you see this line here, okay? This line right here is the hold short line. It's called the hold short line, okay? So the hold short line is something that you need to be aware of, okay? So when you get to a runway, there's going to be departing and landing traffic, okay? At least this is how it is in the real world. DCS is not, this is really up to you, especially with the mission editor and stuff. But in reality, if you want it as real as it gets, hold short of this hold short line, always. Do not cross this hold short line until given clearance by the air traffic control. Now, ATC never says, in DCS, never says, okay, clear to cross runway, whatever. Okay? They never do that. But in reality, in the real world, you do not cross the runway ever, 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 ever without clearance, okay? Even if it's a clear day and there's no wind and you can see absolutely everything and you've got fucking god-eye vision, don't cross a runway without clearance, okay? If you want a towered aircraft or towered airport, okay? Don't ever do that. Same thing in the military, okay? So what you're gonna do is you would basically go on the radio and tell them, you know, hey, am I clear to cross or whatever, if they don't say anything, and you're clear to cross. But for DCS, we can just look left and right, make sure there's no one there, and then we can continue on going. Now, before we actually take off, or not take off, sorry, but before we actually taxi and cross this runway, we need to turn our flashes on. It's the same thing in like civilian aviation. You turn all your lights on, strobes, everything, okay? Because you want, especially at night, you want to be seen by other aircraft that you're on the runway, okay? Last thing you want is a collision on the runway, a threshold of the runway, okay? So what you need to do is you turn your flashes on, okay? So flash, and so you turn your flashes on, and they updated the flashes so they look a lot nicer now. I love it. I love it. First time I've seen them like this. I love it like that. But you turn the flashes on, make sure anti-collision's on. Okay, that's good. Now you can cross. So just cross and cross quickly. Do not stop on the runway. Do not stop on the runway you're crossing. Continue to cross and just cross. Look both ways the whole time and cross. Now, do not stop. If you're going to stop, don't stop before passing that other hold short line, okay? Now I'm going to turn the flashes off. Now you got a hold short line up here, okay? Now we're on taxiway Alpha and 03 right, okay? So this is the runway we need to be at. So hold short here. So hit the brakes. Now, if I can brake on. Now, so this here, right over here, is an arm D-arm area. That's what this is called, okay? This is an arm D-arm area, okay? Let me show you outside the cockpit so you can see exactly what it looks like, okay? This here is an arm D-arm area. Technically, you're supposed to follow these lines and arm D-arm here, okay? And then that's why it goes here. So after you arm and D-arm, you can go here and then go here, hold short right here, and then get on the runway, okay? So it's an arm D-arm area. So if you want to do, if there's a lot of traffic, go to the arm D-arm area and do the before takeoff checklist and shit there, okay? in the arm DM area if there's a lot of traffic, but we're the only ones here, and that guy is sleeping with the chocks. Actually, fuck yeah, dude, that's dope. He has chocks. That's pretty sweet. Well, anyways. So that's when we do there, right? So we're going to do the before takeoff checklist, okay? So before takeoff checklist, flaps normal, okay? So what that means is you go here and you check your flaps. Alternate flaps extend is on normal, not extend, but normal. And check your leading edge flaps, your LEs are on auto, okay? So that's what you want there, okay? That's what it means for flaps normal, before takeoff checklist. Trim needles, centered, okay? Make sure your trim needles are centered. Yaw trim, nose trim, pitch trim, and roll trim, okay? Then engine control, primary. So what you need to do is you make sure that it's on primary here, and the guard is down, okay? Speed brake closed, so check your speed brake. Down here, closed, okay? Fuel panel normal, okay? So you want to check that your fuel quantity select is on normal. Now technically what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to check your internal wing, external center, all that. You're supposed to check all the fuel in your tanks like so, and make sure they are all, whatever bags you have on the jet is working has fuel in them. Now keep in mind that you need to make sure that this here, the fuel quantity selector, is on normal when you actually depart. So when you finish checking, switch it back to normal, because the automatic fuel balancing that the jet does through its computer systems only works on normal, okay? With this set to normal, so make sure that. And also the external fuel transfer, set that to normal, keep that on normal. Oxygen on, okay, so oxygen on, so it's on, good. Ejection seat armed, so now is when you arm your ejection seat, okay? So this is when you arm your ejection seat, so arm, make sure that light goes off, and then you turn on your probe heater, okay? So now is when you turn on your probe heater, okay? So turn on your probe heater, okay, probe heat on. Radar on, so you can turn that on if you want. I'm not going to do that because I don't want the radar today. Throttle 90%, brakes release, throttle mill or afterburner, okay? So throttle mill or afterburner, and at 70 knots, engine burst off, VR minus 10 knots, multi-power, or VR minus 15 knots, afterburner power, pitch 8 to 12 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to explain what all that means when we actually line up on the runway, okay? Technically what we're doing here is the pre-flight engine credentials check, okay? Is what we're going to be doing there. And I have another kneeboard page. I don't remember which one it is. Let me look real quick. Let me look in my files just to see. Actually, I can just. Let me actually, you know what? I need to show you because I won't. If I don't show you what it is, you'll probably get confused. So I'm just gonna look to see which one it is. Please don't be. See, it is number 149. God damn it. So I need to go through 149 pages of this shit to get to it. Okay, well, it's worth it. But I'm gonna go to the pre-flight engine credentials check. So that's what we do there. Now, just check, make sure everything's good. Now, IFF master, this is when you switch it to normal, okay? I knew I forgot something. So that's when you switch it to normal, okay? Now, when you get to the runway and you go to take off, turn on your landing light, okay? So, I'm gonna turn landing light on, Light on, and then flashes on when I'm on the runway, okay? But first, let's contact tower and request takeoff.
Enfield 1-1, request takeoff. Enfield 1-1, you are cleared for takeoff and ready. Climb 300 at QFE 28.02.
Alright, we have that. Okay, we're good. So now, now we're clear for takeoff. So we just get to turn parking brake off. Okay, to anti-skid. Give it a little bit of power. Okay. And then idle. Now this line here guides you to the numbers. So to go to this line here, always look both ways. Even if you're cleared, look both ways. So for all this here, I'm going a little bit off, but it's okay. So you want to make sure that the flight path marker, so hold the brakes.
Enfield 1-1, unable to clear for takeoff.
Yeah, bullshit. Hold the brakes.
Enfield 1-1, you are cleared for takeoff and ready. Climb 300 at QFE 28.02.
So hold the brakes. Now you want your flight path marker, your FPM, that little circle right there, in line, okay? So now, let me just give you a rundown of what we're going to be doing here, because everything's going to happen pretty quickly, okay? But it's going to be okay, so don't worry. So what you're going to do is the pre-flight engine credentials check, but before we do that, let me tell you what speeds we're going to be taking off at. So if your jet is clean, I mean it has no stores, it doesn't have any missiles or anything, or it could have if it's okay, if it's Cat 1, if your jet is Cat 1, take off around I would say 130 to 150 knots, something like that, okay? And then if your jet is heavy, if your jet is heavy like it is here, you need to take off and rotate around, I would say 150 minimum, up to like 170, 175, okay? But I'll show you how to do it all, okay? So what you do, and also this doesn't seem to work, but at this point you could switch it on operate, and if you're in the air you can switch it on operate, but I'm gonna switch it off here because I'm not going to use the ECM, and I'm not going to use the ECM, and this I'm going to keep on standby just so I can show you, how to turn it off after flight. Actually, let me just put this back to standby just so that I can do a full shutdown for you guys, show you how to shut everything off and stuff. Again, the second time or whatever. So we're going to do the pre-flight engine credentials check. So let me get to that real quick. It's page 149. All this stuff. Remember when I said that I have my own fucking Nebo pages? This is what I'm talking about. All this shit, okay? All this shit is all mine, okay? Some of it is I've taken screenshots from videos and stuff, but all this stuff is I had to do all this. It was a pain in the ass, and stuff like ones like this here. I wrote this myself. So it's it was a pain in the ass, and I did it for every single aircraft. It's coming up here. 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where is it? There it is. It's 154 actually. All right, pre-flight engine credentials check. Okay, so the brakes, you need to hold them okay? So you hold the brakes, okay? And then you verify your parking brake is disengaged, okay? Then throttle to 90% RPM, okay? And then once throttle is at 90% RPM, you check for normal engine indications, okay? So you want the hydraulic oil pressure warning light off, okay? Which is off already. Oil pressure between 25 and 65 psi, it must increase as RPM increases, okay? Final turbine imminent temperature 935 degrees Celsius or less. Hydraulic pressure A and B 2850 to 3250 psi, brakes released, then full afterburner, okay? So, let me just try to memorize this real quick. No, I can't memorize it. See, this is what I'm talking about. I can't memorize shit like this. So, yeah, what we're going to do is, since we're heavy, we're going to rotate around 170 knots because we are really heavy, okay? So we're going to rotate around 170 knots. Rotate basically means pull back on the stick like this, okay? So what you want to do is, let me give you a rundown of what we're doing here, okay? So what we're going to do is do the pre-flight indicator check like it says, and when we release the brakes, we're going to go full afterburner on the stick, okay? Or on the throttle, okay? We're going to go full afterburner past this detent right here, okay? We're going to go full throttle, and we are going to check our airspeed. Make sure the airspeed is alive, and make sure we're maintaining track down the runway. And at 70 knots, okay? At 70 knots, it's in the other checklist, but at 70 knots, at 70 knots, calibrated airspeed, indicated airspeed, or whatever. At 70 knots, you turn off your nose with steering. Okay, turn off your nose with steering because you don't want to overcorrect. It's called overcorrect and veer off the runway and crash. You know, because if you have that nose wheel gear going, and when you move the rudder while you're trying to maintain track down the center line past 70 knots or whatever, you can lose control. Okay, so you need to be cautious with that. Okay, now let me see, does this work? What's wrong with my steer points? They don't work. None of this works. What the hell? $699 steer points. What the fuck? They changed that. It used to be 128 or whatever. 127. Now it's 699. My god. That's insane. No one's going to use that much. But yeah, I don't get a bearing or distance or anything like that. What the fuck? That's weird. Or maybe it's because I'm on the ground. I don't know. Well, anyways. So, we're going to turn off nose with steering at 70 knots, okay? And then when the airspeed reaches around 165 to 170 knots, we're going to pull back on the stick just a little bit of back pressure, okay? We're going to pull back on the stick until the nose starts to rise just a little bit, okay? But you do not want to yank back on the stick all the way, okay? Don't do that because you'll scrape the tail, okay? You'll scrape the tail and the nozzle on the ground, and that can be damaging to the aircraft. So you don't want to do that, okay? So what you want to do is pull it back just at about here and hold it, okay? Once that nose comes up, adjust your stick, as you can see with the diamond there, adjust your stick, your back pressure, to maintain around 12 degrees pitch. So to tell what pitch you're at, use this pitch ladder here. You see 5 with the dashes, 10 with the dashes. Now there's 5, 10, 15, 20 above. You can't see it right now because we are on the ground, but you'll see when I pull back on the stick and I take off, you'll see a 5 and a 10 again, repeated but upwards, okay, on the HUD. And you want the gun cross, which is right there. It's really hard to tell, but it's right there, that cross right there. You want that cross on the 10 to 12 degree pitch mark. Now, when you rotate, it's called rotating when you pull back on the stick and raise the nose on takeoff. When you rotate, do not go past 13 degrees angle of attack. 13 degrees pitch. Do not go past 13 degrees pitch on the jet, because you'll scrape the nozzle. And I would say 15, like if you go 15 or more, you're scraping the nozzle, okay? That's instant scraping the nozzle. If you go 14, 15 degrees pitch, yeah, you're scraping the nozzle then. So just aim for 10 to 12 degrees angle of attack, or pitch, sorry. And just hold it there. The jet will take off on its own. Be patient. Do not think, oh, it's not taking off, I'm going to yank back on the stick. No, it's not going to do anything. All you're going to do is scrape the nozzle. Okay, so don't do that. So I'm not going to show you what not to do because, you know, I'm explaining this, and I'll just show you what to do, okay? So we're going to do the pre-flight engine credentials check, okay? So once we lift off, sorry, I'll get to that in a sec. Once we lift off and we are airborne, we make sure our altimeter is working properly, it's gaining, okay, our VSI is good, and then once we do that, gear up, okay, gear up, you take this lever and you flip it up, okay, and then you turn your landing light off, okay. Now, in the F-16, you need to have the gear up before 300 knots calibrated airspeed, okay, you need to have it up, the gear up before 300 knots. If you don't, the drag from the air, the relative wind hitting the gear, can damage the gear, and if not, actually rip it off, okay? So you need to make sure that gear is up when you're airborne and you're lifting off from the runway and you're good, you know, 200 feet above the runway, okay? Then you flip it up, okay? You flip the gear up, or you raise the gear handle. Now remember that the gear, fuck, I don't remember what I was going to say. The gear is, the max gear speed is 300 knots, and you'll rip it off if you don't do that, okay? You rip it off if you leave it down going past 300 knots. So when you lift off, oh, that's what I was going to say. As you raise the gear, you'll lose a little bit of lift, okay? So make sure you're high up enough above the ground to raise the gear. I'll tell you when, okay? You'll just see, I'll say, okay, gear up, and then you'll gear up, okay? So now, actually, I'm gonna switch this to operate just to show you that when it's in operate, like how to turn off the ECM and stuff like that completely, okay? So those lights should go off at some point. But whatever. Alright, so that's what we're gonna do, okay? So we're gonna raise the gear, landing light off, and keep going. Now, I've had my probe heat on this whole time. I may have damaged the probe components. So that may be what I've done. I may have damaged the components at this time. If I did, that's a perfect example. I will know when I get in the air if I damage the probe components or not, because I won't have an airspeed. If that happens, actually, let me turn it off to be safe. If that happens, you're basically fucked. So you know, delay it as long as possible. And if you're just going to sit there, holding short of the runway, turn it off, okay? So I'm going to turn it back on. So now the pre-flight engine credentials check. Okay, so brakes hold. It says brakes hold. So hold the brakes, okay? Hold the brakes. Parking brake, verify disengage. So disengage the parking brake. So anti-skid. Throttle to 90% RPM, okay? So check your RPM indicator. Go throttle to 90%. You don't need much. Don't need much. 90%, good. Now check your engine indications, okay? Check for hydraulic oil pressure warning light off, okay? Off, good. Oil pressure 25 to 65 psi. Let me zoom in here. 25 to 65 psi. So we are good, okay? and it increases RPM increase, so that's good. FTIT is 935 degrees Celsius or less, so we're good there. And then hydraulic pressures A and B, 2850 to 3250 psi. Okay, we're good. Now I'm going to let go of this. Zoom out. Brakes off. Okay, here we go. Brakes off. Full afterburner. Okay, so full afterburner. Maintain track down the center line. Okay, maintain track. Now we're past 70 knots, so nose we're steering off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, look at the airspeed, 5, 6, 7, back pressure just a little bit, raise the nose, Now, we're already in the air, so now watch our airspeed, it's going quick, so back to mil power, you don't want to go past 300 knots, okay? So now, you are airborne, so landing light off, gear up. You lose a little bit of lift, so be careful. So now you can lower the nose. And guess what, guys? You are now airborne. You have taken off in the F-16. Congratulations. So now I'm going to switch this to steady because I like steady. So now we're going quite quick, you know? We're going quite quick. That's a fast aircraft. So 289, 288. Let me show you what the stores config switch does real quick. So when you're on Cat 3, you have less maneuverability in the aircraft, okay? It doesn't allow you to pull as many Gs, and it's the flight control system is more slow. As you can see, if I go full left on the stick, watch how fast I roll. I don't roll that. I mean, I roll quickly, but it's not as fast as if I was to turn it to Cat 1. Okay? I'm going to switch it to Cat 1. Don't do this. Do not do this, because you can damage the airframe. You have a whole lot of bombs and stuff on it. Okay? So I'm going to switch this to Cat 1. Don't do this, but I'm going to switch to Cat 1 to show you something. If I switch to Cat 1 and then I go full stick, left or right, look how fast it turns. A lot quicker, right? A lot more harshly. Okay? That's why you want it on the correct setting, okay? Because you don't want to do really harsh maneuvers with the bombs and shit on it, because you'll damage the airframe and even create cracks and shit. And if not, you know, totally destroy the aircraft, rip the rings off and stuff. So with it on Cat 3, you're less maneuverable. So make sure that's on the correct setting, okay? So we're going to fly around for a little bit. Actually, I can't fly around for a little bit. I need to go back to the checklist. I have to do this like this. This is a pain in the ass. Come on, hurry up. I need to go. This is gonna be a little bit boring. I gotta do this real quick, guys. Getting there. Okay. So I forgot to do the after takeoff checklist. Gear up, lights as required, pitch 15 degrees, climb with 350 knots to 10,000 feet. So I kind of screwed that up a little bit. I'm sorry. I didn't do the after takeoff checklist really, but let me just go over what this means, okay? So I kind of fucked it up for you guys. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I forgot there's an after takeoff checklist and shit. So let me kind of go around. Let me fly around to Vegas real quick. Let me just kind of turn around so I'm going the Vegas direction of Vegas, okay? So let me do that real quick and then I'll talk. Alright, so I'll just leave it like that, okay? So, now, let's roll out of it. Okay. So, so when it says here, end of burst off 70 knots, okay? We did that perfectly, okay? At VR, minus 10 knots. VR means, like, rotate, okay? Rotate speed. So at rotate speed, minus 10 knots at military power, or VR minus 50 knots at afterburner power, pitch 8 to 12 degrees. So what that means, it's a little confusing, but what it means is 10 knots before you rotate. If you're at military power, okay, meaning you're full dry, you're not using afterburner, you're not using the flame at the back, okay, at 10 knots before your rotate speed, if you're using military power, if you're taking off a military power, 10 knots before rotate speed, pitch 8 to 12 degrees, okay. Now it says VR minus 15 knots AB power. What that means is if you're taking off an afterburner, pitched 8 to 12 degrees nose up 15 knots before your rotate speed. Okay, does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I don't really know how else to explain it, but I hope that makes sense. So what that means is we took off at 170 knots, right? So technically in that respect, we didn't do this properly, okay? So at minus 10, so with this here, minus 15 knots, okay? We took off on 100, we nosed up at 170 knots, okay, before at rotate speed, okay? So our rotate speed was 170 knots, okay? Now, if you take 170 and you minus 15 from that, you get 155. So what that means is that we should have rotated, because we were using afterburner, we should have rotated at 155 knots, tried to rotate 155 knots, and put our pitch to 8 to 12 degrees. Okay, so that's what that means. So technically we didn't do that properly. According, bare bones, hard coded to the checklist. We didn't do it like that. We kind of did it our own way a little bit. And that's okay. They're just gonna take off when it wants to take off. But this is just like a this is just a reference, okay? This is just a reference, and there's the airbase there. How's my fuel doing? You always want to check your fuel. So after takeoff checklist, gear up, lights as required, pitch 15 degrees. This is when you're climbing, okay? Climb at 350 knots to 10,000 feet, 10,000 feet, okay? But I'm deciding to be below 1,000 feet. Now radar on and set if you wish. And above 10,000 feet checklist, fuel transfer check. You check your fuel transfer, so you check this here. And then systems check, you just check your systems, make sure everything's in the proper place the way you want it. Weapon systems set if you want it, okay? And then that's how you do the above 10,000 feet checklist and everything, okay? Now where it says, do the weapon system set above 10,000 feet, you can do it here. You can do it, you don't have to go above 10,000 feet. You can fly like I'm doing now. 300 knots, a fucking 3,000 feet AGO, 5,000 feet, You can do it like that. Out of interest, let's see if the this works now. TAS, oh now it works. So you have to be in the air. So you can't use it on the ground. See, that's what it's supposed to do, G and T, right? That's what you're supposed to do there. So switch to CAS, so that works. It sucks it doesn't work on the ground. It sucks it doesn't work on the ground because that would be really fucking useful. But yeah, so descend before landing checklist. We're not going to do that yet. We're going to fly around a little bit. Just always check our fuel. Make sure we're good. 9,400. We're good for now. I'm going to fly around for a little bit. So so the rule is, well, it doesn't apply in the F-16 or the F-18 or anything like that because they're fighter jets, but technically in civilian aviation, if you're below 10,000 feet mean sea level, you want to have your landing light on, okay? So if you're below 10,000 feet, have landing light on, but we're in the F-16, so the landing light is on the nose gear, so the nose gear is up in the bay, so it's not like we can, use it or whatever. So to fly, basically, the most important thing, I can go into detail later on this. The only reason I'm not going to go into full detail is because I'm worried about my fuel just a little bit if I go too long. But basically, you have your flight path marker here. This little guy here. You got this here, this here. Okay, this guy right here is your flight path marker, your FPM. That shows where you're going. Okay. That shows where you're going. So wherever that is where you're going. I'll get into this more detail later in a different tutorial or video or whatever. But for now, I'm just gonna fly around. I will say for landing, this is your airspeed. This is your altitude above mean sea level. This is your radar, your altitude above ground level, okay? Also, if you want to change the ALO, so if you want to change this, just do ALO here and do whatever you want. I'll do 1,000, okay? 1,000 feet above ground level. Return. That easy, okay? Now, wherever this is where you're going. Now, the roll indicator is a little different now. Before, the roll indicator was here, okay? The roll indicator was here when I'm mousing. But now they switched it over here because it was obstructing some things. So now you have, in the roll indicator, you have 10, 20, 30, 45, 90 around here. 10, 20, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 90, okay? So that's how you read that. And the way you read that, the way you tell is this vertical line right here on the FPM. This vertical line right here, wherever that is. So if I go to the left, right there, you're about 10 degrees to the left on the left bank, 10 degrees. If I go to the second mark here, we are at 20 degrees left bank, okay? And then if we go here, we are 30 degrees left bank, and if we go here, we're 45 degrees left bank, okay? Same thing on the right. If we go to the right, we're right 10 degrees, as you can see there, right 20 degrees, right there, the second mark. Yeah, I'm losing altitude, let me, right 20 degrees there, right 30 degrees is super dangerous because I'm not looking, I don't know where I'm going, right 30 degrees, right 45 degrees like that, okay? So that's how you do that. Altitude. Oh god. Whoa. See, that's where you have to look around. That's where you have to look around and set your ALO properly, okay? Because she said altitude, that means I almost crashed into that mountain, okay? So that's why you want to set that appropriately, okay? Very important. She said altitude, so my instinct was to level the wings and pull up, okay? I'll get into the HUD later, okay? The HUD is not working properly for whatever reason. It's not working. I don't know why. It's something weird's going on with it right now. I don't know what's going on with it, but it's not working. You're supposed to have... I'm supposed to have a distance to and from my my steer point, but I don't. Does anyone know why it's not working? It's supposed to be like down here. It's supposed to be down here. If anyone knows why that's not working, let me know. I would think I did the cold start properly. I mean, I'm getting a lot of likes on the video, so I assume I did it properly. But I don't know why it's not working like that. It's weird. So it doesn't tell me the distance between the steer points. What the fuck? Does cruise work? This is a little bit more, but does cruise work? A little bit. Time on station. Does it have the carrot? Does it have the carrot? I wonder. Does it have the carrot? No, it doesn't have the carrot, I don't think. I forgot how to do the carrot. Is it M-select? Oh shit, they have the carrot! Look! They brought the carrot in. Yo, that's going to be so useful. I know that's a very advanced concept, what I'm just talking about here. It's a very advanced concept. But they have the carrot finally. I'm super excited about that. Fuck yeah. And the thing is, I don't know where my steer point is. What the hell, dude? Steer point. Let's check that. Why is the elevation 6,500 feet? Why is it in the air? Should be on the ground. Time on station. Let me get some speed and see if this works.
Altitude. Altitude.
Yeah, this is not working properly. I don't know what's going on. What the fuck? Tample's working and shit, but you don't have the destination or anything. That's weird. I can't sequence to auto, huh? Oops. Be cool. Don't want to fuck that up. There we go. And select auto. Roger. I don't know why it's not working. That's weird. Yeah, something's bugged. I am on open beta, so this makes sense that it's screwing up. So this makes sense that it's kind of screwing up. If it was stable, none of this shit would probably be happening. But I am on open beta, so I'm ED. If you're watching this, well, actually, please watch this so I can, show you guys what's happening. I don't think it's supposed to act like that. I don't remember. I haven't flown BMS in so fucking long. Years. I haven't flown BMS in so long, so I don't remember how everything is exactly supposed to work with that kind of stuff, because I don't use that shit. Usually I just fuck around and fly around and crash into my wingman and shit. No, I don't crash into my wingman. I just fly around, do formation flying, and, drop bombs and shit. But that's it. So, yeah, see, nautical miles doesn't work. Let's try the mode. Yeah, it's all, it's weird. Something's not working right.
Altitude.
Altitude. Oh, I went below the MSO floor. That's why. MSO floor is 5,000 feet. MSO, so that's why that happened there. So we are going to land. Now, when landing in DCS, it's hit and miss what runway they'll give you. Usually, they'll only give you one runway to land on. Okay, one runway to take off from, one runway to land on that I know of. Okay, so it's kind of hit and miss. You kind of have to contact them and be like, okay, I want to land. Say that you're inbound and stuff, and then they'll tell you what runway to land on. Now, when you request azimuth. So if you go ATC, Nellis, inbound, request azimuth, they'll tell you something like this.
Infield 1-1, request navigation assistance. Infield 1-1, ADS, you're heading 3-4.
So it's really, really hard to understand what that means. ADF 3-4. In reality, in the real world, they won't say shit like that, okay? They'll say your runway, the airport is 3 o'clock, 40 miles or whatever it is, or 4 miles or whatever. Fly straight ahead or whatever. They'll give you actual assistance. They don't say like ADF 3-4. Like, what the fuck does that mean? I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it means from ADF, the automatic directed finding they have, we are 3-4 from them, or from our ADF, from our automatic directed finding, the airport is 3-4 degrees from us, but it's not. It's like this here. So like if I do it again,
Infield 1-1.
they'll say it's like 2-7 or something like that. They should.
Infield 1-1, ADS, you're heading 3-1.
Yeah, 3-1. So 310 degrees is where the airport is. So it tells you the direction of where it is. Okay, so that's what that means. I figured out on the spot, actually. Not gonna lie. So I'm gonna land 2 times for you guys. I'm gonna land just a regular landing, without a overhead brake, and then I'll show you an overhead brake, okay? So I'm not going to do a full landing. I'm going to do a touch and go for this, okay? So for this landing, I'm not gonna do the checklist. I will do the checklist for the overhead brake. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I should just do the checklist. But the checklist goes with overhead brake and stuff like that. It assumes you're doing an overhead brake. So I'm going to modify the checklist just a little bit. So descend before landing checklist. Fuel, check. Always check your fuel. Check your fuel. We're good. TACAN, ILS on and set. So if you're using TACAN or ILS, you turn them on and set them. Altimeter, rad out, check and set. Altimeter and rad out, check and set. So you want to check your altimeters match. So 47, 47, 48, 48, good. Your altimeter works properly. And I'm also noticing the clock's not working anymore for whatever reason. Rad out, check and set. So minimums, set the minimums. So what that means is like check your check the minimums for the airfield. I would think is what that means. I'm not entirely sure about that one. Not gonna lie. I'm not entirely sure about that one. But attitude references. You check your attitude references. So you check this here matches your flight path marker, your ADI and your standby attitude ADI match with the flight path marker, and then you're good. And your VSI and stuff matches with your VSI on the hood if you have that enabled, okay? Then exterior lights as required. I'm going to leave them steady. Anti-ice. So what we're going to want to do is turn the landing light on. So go ahead and switch it on now. Turn the landing light on now. And landing light on now. Anti-ice as required. So you check the anti-ice. Anti-ice is auto, good. Targeting pod stow. So if you had the targeting pod on the aircraft, you would go on the targeting pod page. Oh, they have a DCE page. Fuck yeah, finally. I don't know if it works. Does it work? Let's see. Oh shit, it does! They have the DTE page. Fuck yeah, dude. I didn't even know they had that yet. Okay, so I technically screwed up the cold start because you're supposed to... Apparently they have the DTE page enabled, so you can actually... I'll tell you what, next flight, guys, I will load the DTE for you, and I'll show you how to do that and what that means, okay? So I'll do that in the next flight for you. Next tutorial, whatever it is, I will start up from a cold start, and I'll tell you what that means, okay? So they have the DTE enabled. Fuck yes! Yes! So happy with that. Fuck yeah! Like a little child at a candy store right now. But anyways, targeting pod stow, what you would do, you go to the targeting pod page, and then you would click standby, okay? And then you would stow that. Master arm off, very important. Master arm off, laser arm off, RF normal, okay? And then landing checklist. Peel off at 1,500 feet. It should say above ground level, AGO, at 300 knots. So what that means is you want to be at 300 knots speed, so near where we are, okay? I'm going to do one turnaround so we can... one turnaround so that we can show you how this works.
Altitude.
So
Altitude.
you want to peel off at 1,500 feet above ground level at 300 knots. That's the overhead brake. So I'm going to see. Hold on. Open, brake with 70 degrees banked before G, downward leg, speed turn, finish base turn. Yeah, you know what? Screw. Don't look at this right now, okay? Just remember this. I'll get into that after I do the landing, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do one turnaround in the jet. and then I'll just show you how I would land, okay? So we're not going to do that checklist for this landing here, for this touch and go here, because we're not going to go do that touch and go.
Altitude.
We're going to do a touch and go for this landing, okay? Because I'm not going to do the checklist for that, because it all has to do with the overhead brake. So I will go into it once we do the touch and go. So I'm actually going to turn up. I'm going to go this way a little bit, and I'm going to turn around and land on 3 left, okay? I'm going to land on 3 left here this way, okay? And the reason I'm going to do that is because we're going to technically land when we talk to the tower and stuff. We are going to land on this runway this direction, okay? So we pretty much have everything set up. I'm going to turn the landing off for now. So what you would do is you have this AOA indexer here, right? So what you want to do is, most people think that it's like the Hornet, where you make sure you what they call it on speed, where I'm just going to do it here. So I'm just going to do it here where it's on speed or whatever. Don't do this because this is kind of dangerous. Let me see. Does it actually work? Yeah, there we go. See how it went to that green circle there for a sec? Most people think land with that green circle there like that. Land with that angle of attack. And that is wrong. That is 100% wrong. You don't do that, okay? What you need to do is you need to... Well, let me just... Fuck it. Let me just put the gear down for a sec so I can show you what this looks like, okay? So when you put the gear down, make sure you're below 300 knots, first of all. You want to rip the gear off. You'll see that... well, technically there's supposed to be a landing thing here. It shouldn't say nav, it should say landing. LNDG for the landing master mode, okay? So you give power, so you need to give a little bit more power when you're landing, okay? So you'll see this bracket here, okay? You see this bracket here, right? This little staple bracket, okay? It's called the E bracket, okay? Now what you want to do is your angle of attack indexer here, or your angle of attack, angle of attack indicator here, index or whatever, forget what it's called, but that corresponds to this here. So you want your flight path marker right above the top line. Most people think put it in the middle. No, if you put it in the middle, you'll be, well, what they would say on speed. Let me do it real quick. By the way, don't do this, guys. This is super fucking dangerous, especially at this altitude. This is super fucking dangerous. I can stall at this speed. So this is super fucking dangerous, so don't do this. But I just want to show you, if I pull up just a little bit like that, it's in the middle and it turns that donut on, right? It's called the green donut. You don't want that. You want the flight path marker right where it is now, okay? You see where it is now? Right about here, okay? So right there is where you want it, okay? So you want the flight path marker, the left line, this here, right above the top line of the staple here, okay? So you want them to pretty much meet like that, okay? You want it like that all the way into landing, and you're gonna, so when you land, you're gonna have this. Most people think this means that you're going too fast and you need to slow down and shit. Yes, that's true, but in the F-16, when you're landing, you need to have this. This will be enabled and on, okay? You will not see the green donut. You will see this when you're actually touching down, okay? So I'm gonna flip this back up because I'm slow on speed. So that was super dangerous what I did, but you know, it's okay. And by the way, the angle between your flight path marker and your gun cross is your angle of attack. Okay? So just note that. So remember, when you land, you want that. Don't worry about your speed. The jet will do it for you, okay? The jet will do it for you. You do want to make sure that you are around 180 knots. Don't go below 180 knots on landing, okay? So I'm just going to look at the track IR, go this way, fly over the city, check the fuel. 76, we're getting a little bit low. I'm glad we're landing at this point. Not gonna lie, it's making me a little bit nervous. It's not like we have a tanker so we can go and refuel or anything. I will also do refueling tutorials if you guys want me to. If I want to do tutorials, keep doing tutorials. Let me know in the comments, guys. I'm fine doing tutorials, even on other aircraft. I'm fine doing it. It's just I'm not proficient with other aircraft. I'm only proficient with the F-16, okay? So the odds of me making a mistake or telling you something that's incorrect in like F-18 or F-14 or whatever is super high, okay? Because I don't fly those aircraft, really, ever. Don't even get me started on carrier procedures. So you have what's called the TPA, the traffic pattern altitude. Well, let me land first and I'll show you. So what you want to do is
Altitude.
you want the flight path marker on the threshold of the runway, and you'll see, let me slow down real quick. Technically you want the speed brakes out. So you want the speed brakes out. And the reason you want the speed brakes out for landing is because I will show you without speed brakes though for this, okay? I will show you without speed brakes for this, just so I can show you don't really need the speed brakes. I mean, you do, but you don't, if that makes sense. Like, you don't require the speed brakes, okay? So we're really high up, so what you want to do is you want to put the flight path marker on the threshold of the runway. The threshold of the runway is that there, okay, past the rundown, okay? So now gear down, lights on, gear down. So we are on final now, okay? Now you see this bar here, okay? These 6 dashes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You see that? That's the 2.5 degree dive bar, okay? You want that on the threshold of the runway. It's right now not, so I'm actually doing a really shit job at this. And yes, I'm doing a tutorial, but I'm doing a shit job at this right now. So the way to arrest this is to go lower and lower and lower until it meets the threshold, and then you want to shift the flight path marker up. Well, look what I'm doing with my controls. You shift the flight path marker up, okay, so it meets the threshold just like that. And I'm not at the angle of attack that I need to be. So this is actually a bad landing. This is actually a really bad landing because I'm not at the angle of attack I need to be. Remember, you want that flight path marker. Here, let me go around. You want that flight path marker, so gear up. Landing light off, gear up.
Altitude.
Turn around so I can talk. You want that flight path marker at the top line of that E bracket that I showed you earlier. Remember? So that's the most important thing. You want that there while you're landing, okay? And if possible, that 2.5 degree dive bar that I showed, that dive line that I showed you, that I was talking about, those 6 lines, you want that on the threshold of the runway, plus the flight path marker, plus the top of the E bracket, okay? So I'm going to see if I can do this for you properly. Always checking my fuel. I'm going to see if I can do this for you properly. And again, I'm doing this with all stores. Technically what you're supposed to do is jettison your stores that you don't use. But I'm doing this with stores on. So if you can do this with stores on, guys, and you're really heavy or whatever, and you can do this with stores on bombs and shit, you're pretty much golden in flying the F-16. You can fly in pretty much anything, okay? Fighting and shit is a different story. In fact, I've never actually done a single dogfight in any flight simulator. So, including Falcon BMS or Falcon 4.0 out of Force. Actually, you know what? I did a long time ago, but I was terrible at it. But I've never done a DCS. I only evaded my first missiles a couple videos ago. Well, I should say the first missiles that were even shot at me were a couple of videos ago, and I evaded them. So this is called downwind This is called downwind on the traffic pattern. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that the threshold of the runway is about 45 degrees past the end of the left wing. Okay. So I'm gonna do that. Now technically I should be lowering the gear and stuff now, but I'm not gonna do that just so I can actually, you know what, I should. So let me do that. So it's 45 degrees past it, so now we can turn base. We're gonna do a long straight in for you guys. So I'm going to do gear down, landing light on. So this is gonna be a touch and go, okay? So there's that 2.5 degree dive bar there where the flight path marker is, right? So you want to marry that with the threshold of the runway and marry the flight path marker with the top part right there of the, you want to basically do this, okay? Watch. You want to do this. You want to marry all three, okay? You want to marry the flight path marker, the 2.5 degree dive bar, and the top in the with the top of the E bracket. Okay, that's what you want to do. So I'm just looking, keeping my speed. Now I'm going to pull back on the stick just a little bit, just so I can get that there. Okay, so you see where this is kind of a horrible approach, but you can see where the flight path marker is with the 2.5 degree dive bar. You just want to coast the dive bar over. See, if you draw a straight line from this here to there, it's about at the threshold, okay? So now what I want to do, check the gear down, 3 green, good. What now I want to do is put the flight path marker on the threshold of the runway. Let me, I'm a little bit high, so I need to lower, I need to drift to the right just a little bit, okay? And I'm a little bit fast. Okay, so I'm going to lower the power just a little bit. And then you see how I'm marrying the dive bar with the flight path marker with about the same, there you go, see? See how they're both married up? All three are married up. You have the flight path marker, you have the flight path marker, the 2.5 degree dive bar, and the E bracket pretty much there, all together. Now I'm kind of cocking it up, but because I need to zoom out. So you just leave it there like that, and just leave it there, okay? Just small stick movements and small throttle movements, okay? Small throttle movements, and then when you get here, pull back on the stick just a little bit, and you want to go idle power, okay? I forgot to talk about flaring, but now I'm going to take off again. No shit, I didn't get clearance. Abort inbound, I'm not inbound.
1-1, abort inbound, resuming mission.
So, what I forgot to talk about flaring. So basically, do not. So it's not like the Hornet where you land by just flying the jet into the runway. Okay, you don't do that. Right when you're like 10 to 20 feet above the runway, so about 20 feet above the runway, you want to pull back just a little bit and flare. It's called a flare. So what a flare is when you, I can't really do it. I have to just show you. A flare is when you keep the nose up in the jet, but you're basically at stall speed. You basically stall the aircraft into the ground, but very lightly, okay? So you want to arrest the gear. You want to arrest your sink rate, as it's called. You want to arrest your sink rate, how fast you're descending per minute, okay? How many feet you're descending per minute, or your vertical velocity, okay? So this here, you want to make that as low as possible when you actually touch down. And when you touch down, you always touch down on the main gear first. The main gear or the rear gear. So the wheels at the back, the 2 wheels at the back of the F-16. Do not touch with the nose gear first. If you do that, you'll bounce. And that can be very dangerous, okay? And you can also damage the nose gear. Sometimes it happens, but if that happens, you just, you know. If that happens, you just, you should go around. Shouldn't try to land that. So what I'm gonna do, so when you flare, you just kind of coast into the runway by pulling back on the stick, just about where I have my stick there. You just pull back just a little bit, throttle it to idle, and let the jet touch down on its own, okay? But do not slam the jet into the ground. Don't just... So, like, when I had it at the 2.5 degree dive bar like that, and I had the angle of attack where it was at the E-bracket and stuff, and I just, you know, you don't want to keep it there all the way, like you want to keep it there all the way to the runway, but not when you touch down. When you touch down, right before you touch down, you want to pull back on the stick and flare, so you lessen the blow on the gear when they actually meet the ground, okay? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is an overhead brake. An overhead brake is how the military land the aircraft. So it's really hard for me to explain. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to do 3 landings. I'm actually going to do another touch and go this direction. Actually, no. Yeah, I'm just... Okay, let's see. Landing checklist. Peel off at 1,500 feet above ground level. So what that means... at 300 knots. So what that means is you want to go about 300 knots, okay? And you want to be 1,500 feet above the ground. You see our rad out is 1,500 right there. So that's what you want. So you want to be about here. Want to be about here. Go around 300 knots. Okay? So we about, in parameters, we're a little bit low, but it's okay. We're a little bit low. Throw 80% when you peel off. So peel off is when you actually brake. Braking is when you do this. Okay, that's braking, okay? I just screwed up my approach doing that. So it says throttle 80%. So what you want is you want your throttle about 80%, speed brake open, and you want to brake with about 70 degrees and 3 to 4 G. What I do is the idea, yeah, let me just let me turn around. The whole idea is to bleed off your speed. So you don't exactly have to be 3G or 4G with 70 degrees bank. You don't exactly have to do that if you don't want. You can do 90 degrees if you want, but it's not ideal. The idea is you want to A, keep your altitude the same. B, keep the flight path marker on the horizon line. Okay, the horizon line is this long line here. Okay, you want this guy in between here, these lines, this gap here. You want that there. You want your altitude to stay the same, around 1,500 feet. Okay. And then you want to lower your speed below 300 knots, basically. So you want to lower it, get as slow as you can, and then gear down. Okay. And you took your speed brakes open, okay? Just slow down if you wish, or just slow down further, okay? Now, one thing with the speed brakes is that with the gear down, the speed brakes will not fully open until there's weight on the nose gear. The reason for this is because they want to make it so that you don't, on landing on your flare, you don't accidentally touch the speed brakes down to the runway, because that will damage the speed brakes, okay? Costs a lot of money to repair. So it only opens about 75 to 80% of the way, and then when the gear's down. So like right now, if I put the speed brakes up, the speed brakes will go up fully to their full position, okay? As far as they can go. On landing with the gear down, the speed brakes will only open about 75 to 80%. and then and it'll stay like that. And when there's weight on the nose gear, we can then extend them more to their full position, okay? But they won't extend completely by themselves unless you physically command it once there's weight on the nose gear, okay? So keep that in mind. So it says, so throttle 80%, speed brake open. So what I would do is I would do speed brake open once I'm on downwind, technically. But is what I would do. Speed 200 to 220 knots, landing gear down with 3 green, landing taxi light landing, okay? So you want on landing then. And then AOA 11 degrees. Base turn, you want pitch 8 to 10 degrees, AOA 11 degrees. So basically, and then final, always fly on bracket. So what that means on the bracket is the E bracket, what I told you. So you don't want to be on the bracket, you want to be above the bracket, okay? This is a little bit off, so you want it above the bracket, and you want the flight path marker negative 2.5 degrees to negative 3 degrees, and AOA 11 degrees, and short final flight path marker 500 feet runway mark, max pitch 13 degrees to flare, landing roll, max pitch 13 degrees, and then speed brake open fully, use aerodynamic braking down at 100 knots, brakes moderate to heavy, nose was steering on at 30 knots. Okay, so that was a lot. It's easier if I just show you, okay? It's not that much when you really think about it, or when you really do it. It's not that much, okay? So basically what we're going to do is we're going to turn around. Now the Air Force flies over the runway, okay? The Navy flies to the side, right side of the landing runway, and does a left-hand traffic pattern, okay? The Air Force does the same thing, except it flies above the runway, okay? So we're in the Air Force, we're in F-16, this is Air Force jet, so we're going to do above the runway, okay? So basically all we're going to do is do the same exact thing we did when I landed the first time for you and did that little touch and go. That's what I'm going to do again, okay? I'm going to do the same thing again, but I'm going to do it in an overhead brake. You want the flight path marker on the 2.5 degree to 3 degree dive line, and then you want the flight path marker at the top of the E bracket, okay? So you don't want the donut on, you want the yellow chevron, okay? Also, another thing, don't ever trim in pitch for the F-16. Hold on one sec. So yeah, don't ever trim in the F-16, guys. Just, well, don't ever trim with pitch. So, like, some people think, like the F-18, you know, trim and pitch if, you know, the angle of attack's not right, or whatever. The trim and pitch stuff, don't put trim and pitch in the F-16, ever, because it does it on its own. The FSCS is very smart, it does it on its own, it does the pitch for, it does the trim for you, so you don't have to touch pitch trim ever while landing. So, if you're landing in the, you feel like you need to trim, you're likely doing something wrong, so yeah, and also another way you can tell if you're on the right angle of attack is, I'm going to turn around one more time. So in landing, a way you can tell you're on the right angle of attack when you're landing, the way you can tell you're on the right angle of attack, 11 degrees AOA, is when you're, I'm gonna clear these mountains and then I'm gonna put the gear down and I'll show you. It's pretty easy. You just look at your angle of attack indicator down there on the left, right there, and it would show 11 degrees. So 11 degrees on the angle of attack indexer or indicator. So let me me do this. Then I'm going to put the gear down so I can show you. So I slow to where the angle of attack should be. Flight button comes down like that. So if I slow to that, you'll see that the angle of attack index is right here, so it's pretty much good. Okay, so let's do a little bit more. Well, it's not exactly working properly, but that's what you want. It's a little weird. Technically, you want it like this. Yeah, there we go. You want it like. Come on. You want 11 degrees, so you want something like that. Okay? So you got 10 there, 10, 11, something like that, okay? That's what you want. So you want to land like this, okay? With about 11 degrees of pitch. 10 to 11 degrees of pitch. Like that. Okay, that's what you want right there, okay? And you want it up just a little bit. So you give it power. Important thing is power to control your altitude, pitch to control your airspeed. Very important. Like that. That's what you want right there. Okay? That's what you want when landing. So I'm going to put the gear up. Oh shit.
Warning.
So that is the stall horn, saying that I was stalling. So I put the gear up too slowly. And the landing takeoff config was incorrect, so that's why that happened there. I'm glad that's implemented. So now we're going to go and do the landing, okay? So what you want to do is you want to be at 1,500 feet above ground level, okay? So you can tell that with the rad out like I showed you earlier. So right here on the hood. You want to be 300 knots and 5,400 feet AGO. So you want about 4,300 to 4,500 fuel flow for this. For 300 knots. And then you want throttle to about 80%, so right there
Altitude.
when you do the brake. And when I roll out on downwind, then I put the speed brakes out. So I'm gonna turn the landing light on now. And again, I'm not very good at overhead brakes, so I might botch this, but the idea is the same. The idea is to slow your airspeed. It's to, come in fast and then brake and slow your airspeed, okay? So that's the idea. Alright, so go right over the runway, just like that. Lower the altitude just a little bit. And you don't really want to use the rudder in the F-16. You don't really need it, to be honest. So we're pretty much good there. 3,500 feet, pretty much good there. With 300 knots, that's good. So right when you're about at the middle of the runway, you can brake. So not yet, not yet. I usually do it when I pass the tower. Three, two, one, brake. So throttled it about 80%. Keep that flight path marker, so pull just a little bit. Keep that flight path marker on the horizon line, okay? And you can play with the throttle if you want. Don't pull too hard. I'm kind of botching this a little bit, but I want that flight path marker on the horizon line the whole time, okay? And you want to go the opposite direction of the runway, okay? So that's around 3, so 030. I didn't talk about heading yet, but this is 030, so heading is right there. So now, gear down, speed brake's full. And the good thing with the speed brakes is it allows you to have a higher throttle setting. And the throttle is more responsive up in higher settings. So what I'm going to do is try to get on angle of attack, on the angle of attack that I need, so 11 degrees. So I'm going to try to do that here. 200 to 220 knots, so I'm kind of botching this a little bit. But I'm getting on speed here is what I do, is I get on speed, well not on speed, it's incorrect. I get on angle of attack, the proper angle of attack here, like that. And you want to keep going. You see the boards are out. You want to keep going until about now, and you want to do a nice gradual turn, descending turn, just a little bit, okay? So watch the HUD. Watch the HUD, keep that flight path marker a little bit above the E bracket. Play with the throttle just a little bit. And look back. I'm kind of botching this a little bit, honestly. But if you want to see how to really do a good one, look at the last overhead brake I do in the overhead brake, or the takeoff and landing practice video. So I kind of just play with the throttle just a little bit. And you just keep watching. And contact tower, I technically forgot to do this.
Infield 1-1, inbound.
And I'm botching this as a result. But it's okay. Just arrest it.
Fly heading 040, port side, QFE 28.02, runway 21, to pattern altitude.
Press landing.
Infield 1-1, request landing. Infield 1-1, clear to land, runway 21.
Okay, so you want that 2.5 degree dive bar on the threshold, just like that, and then the flight path marker on the threshold and above that E bracket, okay? So this is actually pretty good. This is pretty good here. So when we get to about 50 feet off the runway, or on the threshold of the runway, I'm going to give I'm going to go throttle idle, and I'm going to pull back on the stick very gently. If you look at the controls I'm doing there, I'm going to pull back on the stick very gently, okay? I'm going to shift the flight path marker up a little bit. Now, resist the urge to pull back on the stick. What I do is I give it a little bit of power, and then I turn it off. Turn off the power, and I flare just like that, okay? And I just let it sit and coast down to the runway, like that. And now you want to go aero brake. So what you want to do is you want to keep the nose up, don't go above 15 or 13 degrees, and aero brake like this until your airspeed reaches below 100 knots. Now it's about, okay, so pull back on the stick all the way, brake. Speed brake's open fully. Now you're below 30 knots, so you can put the nose with steering on. And that's how you land.
Enfield 1-1. Taxi to parking area.
Roger, taxi to parking, Enfield 1-1. That's how you land. Now you want to taxi off the runway as quick as possible. So brake a little bit. Turn off. Now do not stop until you pass the hold short line. Okay, the entire aircraft passes the hold short line. Okay. So now the whole aircraft passed. Now you can brake and stop. Now what you can do, you would taxi to parking, or what you do is you can do the after landing checklist. So here, so speed brake, close. So close the speed brake. Ejection seat safe. So now you safe your ejection seat. Turn off the probe heat. IFF master to standby. It's not in there, but IFF master to standby. ECM power off. So, just caution. What's that for? Oh, you can hit that. ECM. So now you can turn the ECM power. Technically, you were supposed to turn the ECM power to standby before landing, so I forgot to do that, but you can do that. So now off. And then this off, 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 off. Obviously make sure that this is off before landing. Turn that off. And then IFF master standby, as you can see it there. Landing taxi light as required, so now switch it to taxi. Okay. And then armament switches off, safe and normal. Radar off, avionics all 6 off. So I wait to do that, okay? I wait to do that until I actually park, okay? So I'm going to give it a little more power, just taxi. Let's go to the same one we went to before. Same one we took off from, or started up from. And just let it coast. Now brake. Parking brake on. Landing light off, or taxi light off, sorry. And then shutdown checklist, landing taxi light off, parking brake set, hood off. Okay. You can turn the nose restraint off if you wish. ADI, SAI, cage. So I'm going to try to cage this again. I can't cage this. It's not allowing me to cage it. It's not allowing me to cage it, but you cage it. Throttle off, EP, gen, PMG lights. Okay, so radar off. That. Make sure all these switches are off. Oxygen off. INS off. MIDS-OBT off. Data link off. GPS off. UFC off. MFD off. Digital stations off. MMC off. And then MIDS-OBT off. Janus main power off. Regular off. 100% canopy open. Okay. So before I turn off the jet, I'm going to make sure all this is the way it should be. Okay, that's good. IFF master off at this point. Now we shut down the jet. See, this is off, ECM off. You can up these switches. And then, yeah, that's good. So now throttle off. Now make sure that your throttle goes past 20% before you turn off the power. And what I'm going to do is turn all this to off, including intercom. I'm going to turn all this off. I didn't do this before, but you technically should turn all these off so that the next pilot that hops in the jet doesn't get their ears blown out from everything being super loud. So you just turn it all off as courtesy. Fuck me. Trucker hours annoying today. Let's keep voice all the way off. Squirt, you can keep that on, but you want this off, volume all the way off. And then with that near zero, you can do off, and then you can turn this off if you want. Turn this off, and these you can do that. And then that's all good. I'm just checking everything, see everything looks in the proper place. I turn this off. Let's see everything's in the proper place here. Good. Air source can be air source. You can switch it off for this. You can switch it off, but remember to just make sure it's on normal when you do get in the jet again. And that is it. Open the canopy. Right click. Alright. For that. Alright. So that was the full flight, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I made sense with a lot of this. Some of the stuff I was saying was kind of advanced. It's kind of hard to understand without like understanding how to read the hood and shit like that. So if you want me to get into more about the hood and how the hood works, how it's supposed to work and stuff, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comment section. I know this was very long. I know it was probably boring to some. I apologize, but I figured, hey, why not just do a full flight and teach you all the way through how to fly the F-16 a little bit, and how to land it, how to do an overhead brake, and how to just land it normally, you know? I closed the speed brakes right. Close the speed brakes right? I can't tell. Hold on. I closed the speed brakes? Yes, I did. So that's the jet off. And yeah, that's it. And we finished with, well, I didn't see what a fuel was at. 5,000. So I was literally at bingo. I was literally at bingo fuel when we landed. So that was a perfect flight, to be honest. That was perfect. So yeah, that's all for this part, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you want me to do tutorials on some of the other aircraft, let me know. You know, money's kind of tight, so it's not like I can go out and just buy an aircraft. So please, if you want me to do other aircraft, stick to the ones that I have, because I can't do the ones I don't have, you know. So yeah, that's all. That's everything. I hope you enjoyed. We were at scattered 4, by the way, for the weather, and yeah. So that's all for this part, guys. If you liked it, smash like a badass, leave a comment. I'll see you guys next time. Cool.